After being picked on by his classmates, a normal boy is called to another world and given superpowers. He makes up his mind to change and become a stronger, better person. Today's story starts with a hero named Haruka running away from monsters. He says that his story began when he was in school. Even though there were a lot of people around him, he felt alone. He tells them that he was by himself in real life because he didn't want to talk to his classmates. He wasn't in any of these groups: celebrities, gamer nerds, fashionistas, or people who were crazy about fitness. A magical circle showed up one day and surrounded the whole room. For a moment, Haruka was thrilled and thought it looked a lot like the book he had been reading. For him, other worlds are a big problem, and reading light novels is fine. He doesn't need to go to another world. What? He tries to leave through the door so he doesn't get caught in the magic circle. He thinks about jumping out the window, but he doesn't do it. He tries one last time to get out by going upstairs, but all he finds is a room that is white. Haruka doesn't understand and asks, wait, why is no one here most of the time? A fat king or a pretty princess shows up instead. An old man is wandering around. Haruka wonders if the old man got lost and found himself in a different world. He must be a crazy old man, he thinks to himself. I'm not going crazy, says the old man. He tells Haruka to pick a skill because his classmates have already done their work and are on their way to the other world. She also needs to get ready. Bye. The old man shows a big screen with many skills on it. As usual, Haruka says, everyone gets 50 points to spend on magic and skills. But 43 people have already taken the best ones. He gets angry and starts yelling at the old man, telling him to learn something important. Then you can take all the other skills, the old man says, and he sends Haruka off to the new world. Haruka wakes up and thinks, that old man really threw me out. That was a careless way to send me to another world. What did he think? His mood is bad because he thinks the old man should have given him some time to get ready for the trip and get his things together. He looks down and sees a bag on the ground. He opens it up to find a robe inside. After putting it on, he says, I feel a little more dressed up now. It doesn't look that bad on me with this gear and my round shield title. Haruka needs to roll the dice, which is shown on a status screen. He remembers that the old man taught him all of his skills, including how to roll dice. The die lands on the letter M. He doesn't understand and asks, what does this mean? I hope it's good. He picks luck when a window pops up asking him where he wants to spend his points. He is shocked when his luck level reaches its highest point, and he figures out that M meant max. He does, however, notice that all of his other skills are in terrible shape. One skill shocks him the most because it means he will always be alone and never be able to join a team. People will run away from him whenever he tries to join a group, leaving him alone. He can also control creatures and make friends with them instead, which is an extra skill. She is shocked and asks, what is this? Don't you get it? Getting by in this world by myself too. He wants to go on this trip with other people, but he decides, now that I think about it, it doesn't matter where I go since I'm already alone. Let's go. All of my classmates have also moved on to this world, he says. But I haven't seen a single one of them yet. I won't be able to work with them, even if I meet them. But for now, I need to find a place to stay. It would be great if I could also find food. Haruka starts to walk through the forest and says that the thick trees make it hard for him to see. He is afraid that he would not be able to defend himself if a monster came at him from behind. He then thinks of the glasses the old man gave him. He is amazed when he puts them on and says, now I can see everything clearly, and precisely the lenses start to shine a light on things around him, showing him what they are and how they work. He knows that he can see in the dark with them, and that the lenses have made it much easier for him to understand his surroundings, which makes looking for things more fun and easier. He feels good about himself as he starts putting food and mushrooms in his bag. I feel like I can find anything with just a glance. Haruka gets some water from a nearby river and then finds a cave far away. She feels a little scared as she walks toward it, but when he goes inside, it's empty. He takes his things out of his bag, puts them in order, and then sets up his magical tent. Looks like I'll be able to live quite well here, he adds. Additionally, he takes out the wood he had collected earlier, contemplating. If I use this to raise the temperature, now the monsters will stay away when they see the flames, he says as he starts a fire. He thinks about what happened that day and says, a lot happened today, and I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. He checks his status before going to sleep and sees that his fire magic has gotten better. He then goes to sleep. Haruka says to herself when she wakes up the next morning, thanks to my monster-repelling skills, no monsters attacked my home during the night. He starts getting breakfast ready and cooking it, feeling more sure of his ability to stay alive in this new world. I've gotten pretty good at staying alive here, he says, but quickly adds, now before anything else. I need to secure food and ensure my safety. He sees a healing herb while foraging and goes to pick it, but there are goblins in the way. These goblins are small, but they're stronger than I am. Can I beat them? He asks himself. No, he says, I have to fight them eventually, even if I get stuck here, so I'll attack them right away as the first step. Haruka gets ready for battle by adding energy to his magical staff. He yells, let's go, and then jumps at the small goblin, hitting it hard and knocking it out. Finally, the other goblin attacks, but Haruka avoids it and kills it with a strong magic attack. Haruka goes to the river to wash his face after beating the two small goblins. He thinks, I made it through my first battle, it wasn't perfect, but everything went well. He gets tired all of a sudden and decides to go home to rest. In the future, Haruka says to the goblin's small weapon, while she is eating and looking at it, this weapon is useless, it's heavy and short, so I can't use it. When he checks his status, he sees that his level has gone up to 2. He says with a hint of satisfaction, I've made more progress than I thought I would. Haruka is sick of eating the same thing every day and wants some meat in the morning. He hesitates though, because he thinks, the class president might scold me, it's not good to waste things. Still, he thinks, so far I've taken care of my immediate hunger problem. Now I want to get stronger. I don't like the idea that monsters that attack you can make you stronger. I want to fix up my house too if I have time. Haruka is determined and says, let's go train my magic. The blessing of the forest has been given to me. He is excited and full of energy. My body feels light, like I'm moving instantly, he says. Soon he comes across a group of goblins and starts attacking them one by one. He is proud of his progress and says, I can beat them easily now. Every day I'm stronger than I was the day before. I can beat 3 goblins in a row, she says. That's enough for now after a fierce fight with the goblins. I think I'm done with my research on magic for today. He fights and trains over and over again until the 5th day when he defeats a goblin with a single strike. Haruka finally says, things are finally going well in this other world, just as I had hoped, as he finds wood to build his house. He finally finds a rabbit because he wants to eat meat. He runs after it, and just as he catches it, he gets a message telling him that someone is nearby. Right then, some of his schoolmates show up. Ada says to herself, I don't want to deal with them. He quickly puts his hand over the rabbit's mouth to stop it from making noise. Then he turns his head and sees the class vice president with the rest of the students following her. Haruka thinks about how big the world is and how he has known the vice president of his class since the first day of school. She makes him think that he might be in love with her. He quickly changes his mind though, because he knows that no one can tell him what to do and nothing can beat him in this world. He is sure of himself and says, I'm the only monster killer in this world. The first episode of this new anime is now over. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon before you leave. This way you will not miss any updates. At the start of today's show, a young man says he heard a noise far away. He moves toward Haruka, but just as he does, Roka, the rabbit that was with her, moves out of the way. They tell her, let's go, it's only a small rabbit, and she says, that was close. Of all the people who made it out alive, these guys show up. Haruka says to his friends, why do they want to talk about something I don't want to join them? He starts to listen in on their chat and finds that they are making up stories about the class vice president. People think she needs to go back to the other world right away. When Haruka hears them talking badly about her and their female friends, he gets mad because they are picking on them. After that, they start to leave, and Haruka says, what they said was terrible due to their plot against the girls. I'd rather hear the director speak than hear them talk. He also says, I did get some useful information though. God, it looks like they've done well in this world, he thinks. It seems the others are somehow better off than me, but it would be annoying to meet them, so I should go home now. When he gets to his home cave, he checks his stats and sees that the only thing that has gotten better is his power when he is by himself. That's because I didn't want to talk to my classmates or because I played alone in my room all the time, he says. I'm only at level 3 right now. He says that having many skills makes it hard for him to focus on one thing, and he feels a little silly about it. He says, it's okay since this means I can do all the things I couldn't do before. He starts to clean up his room and tries to get everything done at once, but being idle. We don't do that, he says. In that case, I wouldn't be able to do anything, right? This skill isn't useful at all. He starts to eat mushrooms after that, and says he wishes he could eat fish. After that, he goes to bed to rest for a while. He dreams that he is eating fish. But a sensibility wakes him up. What is this noise, he asks. I can't go to sleep, it's the middle of the night, so everyone should be asleep, he thinks as he goes outside to see what's going on. Are they a group of bikers or are those people my classmates? With a skill that lets him see 1,000 miles away, he sees that small goblins are attacking his friends. Defend or fight back doesn't seem to be possible for them. What is this? My high school friends who are crazy about me, he checks their levels and finds that one of them is a ninja, one is a witch, and one is a saint. I think they'll be okay, he says. All of them are very good at what they do. This makes him think of the time when his class was full of strong players, and he didn't understand how a normal person like him could fit in. Things are different now, though. He gets a message that goblins are about to attack his friends from behind as he turns to leave. He makes up his mind to keep them safe and kills all the goblins at once. What he did shocks his friends, who thank him. And he thinks to himself, being alone for so long has really made me forget how to talk after that. They follow him to the cave and are amazed to find a huge, beautiful room full of amazing things. Did you do all of this by yourself? I ask. What happened to everyone, he asks them. Soon after he gives them juice, one of them starts to talk about what happened. He says that one day everyone was taken to the forest. At first, it was very confusing, especially when the bad kids and mean girls started to roam around and cause trouble. The only person who stayed cool was the class president. The other girls were crying because they wanted to go home. Others were busy checking their skills and gear and sharing information about their current situations. However, goblins showed up and began to attack them. There were a lot of monsters. When the class president saw them, she stopped moving. The other girls started crying out loud as the monsters struck. The bad guys who were messing around earlier also stopped moving. But in the end, it was only us, the obsessed ones, who put an end to the chaos. We started to fight them back. We beat all of the goblins after that, and the athletes joined in the fight until all of the monsters were gone. Then the class president woke up and led everyone to what looked like a safe bank of the river. We need to go somewhere safer, she said. They went to the river, lit a fire, and pitched their tents. It looked like the geeks had planned for this to happen and had been quietly learning how to stay alive. After a few days, when things had calmed down, there was a meeting where everyone spoke. The chores and night shifts were being split up, and they were talking about the future, food, and hunting. When the class president wanted to share her thoughts, she would sometimes ask for help. She slowly brought the class together. She behaved normally, even in another world. She really is amazing because she keeps everyone in order and gives each person a specific job, like cooking, watching, or helping with fishing. Everything looked like it was going well except for one girl. She then asked, "Why are we doing this? This should be the boy's job, right?" She then stormed off and said, "I'm not leaving, I'll help too." The girl, though, said, "This doesn't make sense, some of the boys left too." And soon there was no one left with her. The whole class began to fall apart when she looked sad. A small group of students stayed with her, and they too were annoyed by all the work. "Why are we the only ones working?" they asked. "This spot is awful." And the girls also didn't want to work, but the geeks kept fighting monsters and working hard to protect their friends, even though things were tough. After that, the bad guys started leveling up quickly by killing monsters to get better at being bad. The kids knew that someone had magic that could make people do what they wanted. That's why they wanted to get those kinds of powers to use them. From a distance, the geeks heard one of the bad guys talking about how they were going to control the girls and make them their slaves. He planned to start with the vice president of the class and make her work for him. The geeks quickly told the president about the risk of this plan so that it wouldn't happen. Right then, she chose to level up so she could fight back. In the end, the bad kids got their power back after a few days. Just by chance, the class president showed up in front of them. They were thrilled to catch her and use her as a slave, but all of them fell down at the same time, knocked out and unable to move. The geeks then put a seal on them and told them to leave the area. Later, though, the bad guys came back to attack the base, ruining it, beating up the class, and setting the tents on fire. The geeks were blamed after the whole camp caught fire. People told them it was their fault since they were the ones who attacked the bad guys first. The geeks were picked on more, but the class president stood up for them and supported them. The geeks couldn't take it any longer, though, and were finally kicked out of camp. Haruka said that they had been through a lot, and then she gave them mushrooms and said, "This is a mushroom-eating party." The geeks left the next morning, and Haruka said goodbye to them. It was time for them to start their real trip, so they asked him if he wanted to go with them to the river and then to the city. Haruka said, "It's tempting to go with them, but I think I just bring them down in my cursed state. I'm interested in the town, but I think I'll go to the base for now to see what's going on." As he strolled through the bush, he came across a wolf-like creature that bit his hand, but he was able to defeat it. After going on until he got to the base, he saw that it was empty and on fire. Following the footprints, he found more tracks. He saw the girls when he used his 1,000-mile vision, but one of them saw him. He felt like running away because he thought these mean girls had to be the ones he ran until he was far away, even though they told him to stop. One of the girls begged him to stop though, and he did. "Are you getting along with Oda and the others?" she asked. "We need to find them. Do you understand where they are?" Please, at that time, he realized they were looking for the well-known criminals. They said they were sorry and admitted that they knew what they were capable of and that they were able to live because of them. These girls would never say sorry in real life. How could they now? Haruka asked himself. They heard him and were told, unfortunately, you won't be able to catch up with them, but the girl insisted and asked him to show them where they were. "Can you fight monsters?" he asked. "Do you know how to get out of the woods?" He told them to make a choice, and they started to cry and say, "We're sorry, we don't want to die, they are going to eat us." She got scared when he saw this, and they begged him to teach them how to stay alive so they could do it on their own. "Please give us strength, and we'll repay the favor," they begged. Then he used the subjugation of wicked girl's skill by mistake. He was shocked and didn't know what was going on. After that, he and the girls moved together and fought each monster in turn. He had the girls so calm that they looked like they were in a daze. "It's scary, their eyes are dead," he thought. "They look like they belong to a cult." Without any sense of purpose, they kept killing foes and giving him the final blow. Following that, they took the magic stones from the beasts and gave them to him. He hurt his hand in the fight, so one of the girls put a medicine on it and all over his body. The class president suddenly showed up behind him. He didn't seem to be able to hear her, and as she got closer, Haruka started to smell something awful, which made him wonder when the medicine would wear off. She didn't pay attention to what the president was saying because he was talking to himself. When she tried to get his attention but he didn't hear her, she leaned close to him and yelled his name out loud, which startled him. One of his friends then asks what they should do, and the scene changes to them. His friend suggests that they bother the girls at camp. Nerd tells them to solve their own problems first, though, and then he shines his sword. That's the end of our show. If you want to see more new shows, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to get updates. At the start of this episode, the main character, Haruka, is thinking to himself, why did this happen with those disgusting girls? How do I get this entry taken off of them? The class vice president, on the other hand, walks up to him and talks loudly enough for him to hear. Soon after, the other girls who were with the vice president show up. They look tired because they had been running to catch her. They say nice things about how fast she is. It looks like these girls are the rest of the class. The vice president then asks, "What's up with these girls with you? It looks like they're not normal." Haruka recalls what happened to these girls and how he quickly calmed them down. "I'll tell you later, it's a long story," he says. She gets mad at him and tells him to explain right away. He says that he put a spell on them to make them give up. She is shocked and asks, "Why would you throw it at them? Shouldn't that skill only be used on monsters?" She tells her, "It just happened on its own, and when I looked at their status screen, it said that they were subjugated and contemptible." The other students are furious and look down their noses at him. At that moment, Haruka wants to pass away. They then let go of the girl's obedience spell, but when the vice president tries to leave, they stop him and tell him he can't. Haruka whispers, "I'm by myself again, this is my fate. I might as well teach you the magic I used to make my house bigger." He starts to use his power, but because he is concentrating too much, it blows up. The next thing we see is him buried in the ground. The girls are shocked to see him and help pull him out. The girls thank him for helping everyone afterward. When they thank him, Haruka is surprised and tells them he wants to go home. The girls don't understand what he meant and ask, is this really the right place and time to say that he tells them that all he wants to do is return to this world, which is his home. It turns out that the girls were thinking why they have nowhere to go. They then ask him how he has a house in this other world. They ask, "Were you born here?" "No, I had time, so I built one," he says. "You can't do it in your spare time," and the group starts to talk about the specifics. When they ask him how many people can fit in his house, Haruka replies, "About 6 people per square, that's about 240 people altogether. You can fit more in if you take out the base. I also have a kitchen, bathroom, and laundry room. Since we came to this world, we've been living in the open," the vice president says. "Could we stay at your place just for today?" The vice president asks him hesitantly. The girls look like they want him to invite them. "Is it true that all the girls in my class want to stay at my house? Is this dream or real?" He starts to think about what might happen, but then he agrees and takes them to his house through the forest. As they walk through the bush, they see signs that lead to his house. The girls are amazed at how well he knows his way around. After that, they look very tired when they get to the house. As they are shown inside, they see that it's not a huge house, but everyone is still happy. As they say goodbye to living in tents, they can't believe it and say it feels like a dream. And the host then shows them the bathroom and kitchen. Each of them runs like lightning to the bathroom, where they take off their clothes to take a bath. It amazes the class vice president that everyone was so eager to do this. At the same time, Haruka seems to not believe what is going on. He builds a tent for himself and says he'd rather be alone. He says that being free and on his own is what makes him truly happy. Someone like me is the only one who can understand, he says. I mean, I couldn't last any longer in this room with 20 high school girls. The class vice president then goes up to Haruka to thank him for helping them. She tells him that the other boys were worried when Oda and the others left the camp and went somewhere else. In any case, living in a luxurious room and having excellent meals has lifted everyone's spirits. She says thanking God for the chance to settle down. Haruka says, "You've done something valuable. You've been taking care of us and protecting us all this time." Haruka tells her, "It's okay that you're not like them because they're weird." This makes the vice president cry. "The reason you're upset is that you keep comparing yourself to them. It doesn't help to compare yourself to people like them. They're not like you, they're strange." She is touched and tells Haruka how great he is. She then says she feels a little better. She suddenly thinks, but Haruka, who has a house, eats real meals, and has even defeated monsters, doesn't that make you weirder than Oda and the others? She tells him she appreciates him and then leaves. In the next scene, the girls are asleep and Haruka is lying awake by herself, thinking about them. Thoughts of the girls and the class vice president are making him think that he might not be able to sleep much that night. One of the girls in Haruka's class is standing over him when he wakes up the next morning, telling him that food is ready. He opens his eyes wide in shock and says, "What a surprise, but who is this girl?" She walks up to him and tells him that they've made fish for breakfast to wake him up. When Haruka hears that, she jumps out of bed and starts eating the fish, saying, "This fish tastes great. I've wanted to eat fish like this for a long time. I haven't had a meal like that in a long time." He eats it so fast that it seems like he's never had fish before. He then says that he used to stand by the river and stare at the fish but couldn't catch any. He says, "I used to gaze at them while eating mushrooms. Since I couldn't catch a single fish since arriving here," then he asks them if there's a way to catch more fish. One of the girls uses lightning magic to shock the water and kill all the fish, which then floats to the surface. As she makes lightning, Haruka tells her to do it again, and he puts the fish in a box to keep them. Afterward, he throws the lightning at the fish to catch them again and is thrilled when he succeeds. He gets a message telling him that he has learned level 1 lightning magic. He tells the class vice president that he just did something by enveloping something with magical energy. This is something he has been studying lightning magic for and can use to cover things in magic power. He thinks it might be because he combines two skills: his control over energy and his ability to do many things well. He does say, though, that this won't help his level. The vice president of the class says it's amazing how good he is at magic, but Haruka jokes that the lightning magic was so strong it almost made him wet himself. After that, we see the girls having fun in the river, while Haruka talks to the vice president of the class. He asks her if they know what they want to do next and says that if they choose to stay in the cave, he can fix it up and try to make it look like an old-fashioned hotel. It's still up to them, she says, but most of them want to go to the town. Then Haruka says that the mean girls are going to get rid of the freaks. When the girls hear this, they say they're not mean and just want to get better so they can beat the freaks. The class vice president asks them how they plan to beat the freaks since they are very strong, and how they plan to properly level up. "Don't worry, leave it to me," Haruka tells her. He gets all the girls together and asks them what level they are at now. Each girl tells Haruka what level she is at, and he is shocked to learn that the lowest level is level 16, while he is still at level 7. She tells them, "First, let's see how skilled you are in combat." The girls then ask when they can start. He shows them level 6, 7, and 8 fox monsters and tells them they are not very strong. The girls think he's insulting them because he doesn't think they can beat them. When the fight does start, though, the foxes easily beat them. They were shocked by how fast and strong the foxes were, and now they are tired and sitting in Haruka's tent. Someone tells Haruka that they are having a post-battle review session in his tent, and that he shouldn't get in the way. Not long after that, the girls get ready for a second round and say they're ready to fight the foxes again. One of the girls, the same one who woke Haruka up, says she's sorry about what happened in the morning. She says that everyone has been on edge since the boys struck them the last time, but Haruka was different. He fed them and gave them a place to stay. Now he's teaching them how to fight. She says she'll catch him more fish tomorrow after they clean up the river. And then Fish Girl, you can bring me more, Haruka says. The girl is shocked to be called Fish Girl. When Haruka eats the fish for breakfast again the next morning, she is clearly enjoying it, but he can hear the girls outside saying that they are going to get back at the fox monsters. She is shocked and doesn't understand how they can think that after losing the night before. But then the head of the class shows up and tells them they need more practice before they can fight the monsters again. First, they had to fight little goblins to get ready. After that, the day of payback against the kobolds, which are scary monsters that look like foxes, finally came. They all looked like they were ready to fight. First, the foxes made fun of the girls, which made Haruka wonder if they were really up to it. He looked over and saw that some of the girls were sleeping because they were too tired to do anything else. Other girls were claiming to be sick so they wouldn't have to fight the foxes. After that, we see some of the fox-like creatures attack the girls. They seemed stronger this time, though, and were able to block their strikes and even beat them badly. They were glad for the win because it meant they finally got even. They said they were thankful for the training. They were then praised by the class vice president one by one. A girl shook a fox's hand and told it, "That was a good fight. We won't lose to you again." Haruka was shocked and said, "All of this is wearing me out." The class vice president then asked everyone if they had all the things they needed, like fish, mushrooms, and things to take with them on trips. This girl is seen with a big bag on her back, full of mushrooms. She is getting ready to go to the city, and everyone seems excited about it. She told the vice president to be careful because they would be on their own from now on before they left. After that, the scene changes to a boy running through a dark forest. He can see that someone is after him and wants to kill him. After the boy falls near a tree, someone grabs him and chokes him until he can't breathe. But the person who hit the boy laughs, then turns around and walks away. That's all there is to the show. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell before you leave so you don't miss any new videos. He then takes the girls for a walk through the park. He wants to keep the girls safe from bad guys, but they need to leave the woods first. After that, they find an orc. Haruka fights the orc while the girls hide. The orc tells her he will teach them how to fight, and she charges at the monster while it strikes him. The monster is no longer able to see Haruka after the blow. Haruka is hiding behind a tree and laughing at the monster for being so stupid. He remembers that the nerd told him that orcs are tough to hurt physically, but that with enough magic, they can be defeated. When his magic level is checked, he sees that he has a skill called Grand Magic. He learned that earth, water, fire, and wind magic make up big magic, along with fire magic. All of them came from how well he packed. The orc finds him in the end because he believes that sometimes even the worst skills are useful. Haruka avoids the attack and hits it on the head to tell it to calm down. Yet the orc doesn't calm down, though it dies. The orc wasn't supposed to be hurt physically, so Haruka is shocked to see this. The girl then gives him the mean steps. He didn't learn how to fight from this. Then they run into another orc. This time, Haruka's magic is fire. He attacked the monster with the power of his temperature skill, and it died. The girls say they can't learn anything if he kills everyone at once, and Haruka is shocked again. She sets up traps around their camp in case the monsters try to attack, while the girls eat dinner at night. He believes that the trap and his tent can keep monsters away and help him see them better. It should be enough to look after the girls. Then he looks at the map that his evaluation skill gave him and sees that the river is starting to curve up ahead. He doesn't know what they should do next. At that moment, he feels something and goes to check it out, thinking it might be monsters. As soon as he gets there, he sees people and fears they are the bad guys. However, it turns out to be them. When guys talk to Haruka, they're glad it's just the two of them, and the class rep sees them. Haruka asks them why they're here and believes they may also be after the girls. They say they don't want the girls. They came to find him. They tell him they're not interested in boys when he asks them. Then Haruka asks them why they are hiding from the girls. They tell Haruka that they don't trust anyone and remind her that there was a skill scarier than charm and puppeteer. Haruka knows they are talking about the hijack skill based on the skills they showed her. The bad guys talked a lot about the bad guy's charm and acting skills, but they never said anything about hijack, which means they don't have it. This skill could be held by someone else. She then acts scared to scare the jocks, but they tell her they'll be okay. They ask him if he really has the skill if they doubt it. He says no, but he learned how to conquer. Now they believe this is even worse, but they are sure it won't matter because he will always be by himself. She says there's nothing wrong with being by yourself. That's all they meant to do. The jock says, telling him to be careful about the catch skill. They promise to keep an eye on the bad kids from now on. He asks Haruka to say sorry to the girls and the class leader. They leave after she says yes. The class rep heard everything, as we can see. She tells the girls the next day that they are going back into the bush and to get ready. He thinks that the other girls may have eaten something strange today because they look like they are ready to fight as he walks away from them. The teacher asks Shuka. She talks to him by herself if she can. She tries to tell him what the cool guy told her. She remembers that they told him to say sorry, which he does. But class rep wants to talk about something else, and she doesn't seem sure what it is. Because of this, Haruka knows what she wants to say and tells her she has the hijack skill. He says it was clear after just one look, which makes her wonder how he knew. The group of nerds and her knew this was a secret. But he doesn't get how the jocks missed this. He knows this, so the teacher asks him why he helped her anyway. To her question, "Are you not afraid of her?" he replies, "I have no reason to be afraid." Hail Mary is a scary skill because it can kill someone and take away their skills, which is something that everyone in the class would be afraid of. The girl tells him not to be scared, and he knows the boy felt the same way. He didn't block her puppeteer or charm skills, but they did. He now knows everything he needs to know. She doesn't get what he means, and he says that nerds are glad she learned that skill. When he tells them that he feels the same way, the class head starts crying with happiness. This Haruka says she's been crying all the time lately. Next, she tells him it was all his fault. He runs away happily because he doesn't want to get caught. She brings juice for everyone while the kids take a break after a long trip. He does charge for it though, just for fun. He charges his friends and the class rep gets mad and tells him to stop. After that, they all started their trip all over again. This is what Haruka thinks they are ahead of schedule right now. But they have to camp again tonight. After crossing the river, he figures it's time to do something. Someone from the class is told to keep an eye on this while he goes to talk to Scout. The class rep wants to go with him, but he tells him to stay where he is and then leaves. He finds these skills very helpful for his happiness. He is amazed by the view when he jumps a little too high, but there is nothing to catch him as he falls. He takes a hard hit to the ground and barely stays alive. He believes he would be dead if magic wasn't wrapping him. While they are sleeping at night, he goes back to the girls. The class rep doesn't get how he got so beat up from just going on scouts. She asks him what went on. He says he hit his face because he jumped too high. Hearing him act like a fool makes the class leader mad. He gives her some berries to calm her down, but the next day she just leaves the area. After Haruka's reconnaissance the day before, they make a lot of progress. They go through a lot of fun and scary things, but they handle them all with ease. After more walking, they finally came out of the bush. The girls were glad to see planes ahead of them. Haruka thinks he should be better and more alert now that they are outside because the town might not be too far away. But the hills in front of him make it hard for him to see. He then checks his stats and sees that he has a new skill called air walk when he walks on air. He's so high up that his teacher is shocked. He is practicing his new skill so hard that she can't reach him when she calls out to him. He finally hears her after a while and she worries about his safety from up there. He reassures her that everything is going to be fine and that he is only going to make sure the area around her is safe. After that, he looks around and sees that monsters are attacking some people. They tell the class leader about them, and she tells them to help. But Haruka doesn't think they are good people just because monsters are attacking them. He knows she trusts him too much. Rep wants to send their fastest to help, but Haruka says they can't make it no matter how fast they run. He doesn't know what they'll do. If those people are really bandits, what should I do? The class rep tells him she will deal with them if they are bad guys, but he says it's safe to leave them alone. She tells them she wants to help them if they aren't already getting help. Haruka believes she knew she would say that. People are shocked when he tells them he will go save them. He then believes he won't be able to make it in time, and that magic wop and weak magic won't help him. The words he used yesterday aren't good enough. Magic wop helps him get in better shape, and weight magic helps him lose weight. He knows he needs to try something new. Then he uses wind magic to get himself up and runs toward the ice. As Haruka flies through the sky, her wind magic catches both the class representative and the sky people. He moves forward by walking on air and kicking the air a lot. He is sure he can go anywhere. He plans to use these skills. And then he sees that the class rep is holding him and starts to wonder what she wants to do. He replied that his wind magic had gotten her before. She told him to stop because they are already where they need to be. But Haruka says he has never been able to stop, so they crash into the monsters that are attacking the people this kills. When the scary things appear, Haruka checks to make sure everyone is okay. They think they should be the ones to ask, and they thank him for helping them. The person in charge of the party starts by calling himself Ofar, and then his friend calls himself Gatik. So Haruka is glad they don't have to talk to each other in a different language. After that, she asks them why the monsters were striking. They said that sellers in this area have been getting hacked lately, so the Adventurers Guild set out on a mission to kill all of them. They took the quest because they thought it would be easy to make money, but they didn't know what they were doing. He then talks about the Big Wolf and finds out that it was a monster named the Big Green Wolf. After then tells his friends to get what they still have. They are mad that they failed to do what they were supposed to do. Because of this, Haruka feels like he has nothing to do until the girls get here, so he cooks some mushrooms for them. Once they've eaten the mushrooms, they find out that they are energy caps. I can't believe he's giving them something so unique, and Haruka is shocked that these are unique. He finds out that these plants can heal wounds and make people stronger. The class rep then wakes up, and after a while, the girls join them. They are shocked to see a real elfin knight and run up to them as if they were real people. After that, the scouts lead them to the town. The town of UI can be seen after some time. The girls are so happy that they all run into town and go inside. The scene cuts to the bad guys getting stronger at the same time. They feel ready to go after the girls when they're done. Tanaka now tells them to go after the nerds first, so that they can help them get better at charm and puppeteer. The bad guys like this plan. They agree with them, but they don't know that the jocks are paying attention. Glad you watched my story. Please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more post-show summaries like this. The group is amazed by how beautiful and busy the city of Amui is when they get back at the start of the show. They understand at last that they are not in this world. Even though Haruka likes being alone, she isn't sure if this is the right place for him. Everyone else is happy though. The girls are thrilled by the unique shops that sell clothes and other things they've never seen before. They were all happy at first, but then the class leader told them they had to do something important. And he had brought everyone here safely, which made Haruka feel better as she rushed to finish her work. He's done with his job, so he walks around the city. The houses look like cupcakes, so two girls ask if they can eat them. Someone has to be the voice of reason and tell the group that stones aren't good for stomach when they're really hyped up. When Haruka calls for help, she is already taking a break with a drink in the shade. He told the class rep that it's too much to take a break in a strange place, even though he was done with his work. After that, she blows a whistle and tells all the girls to get in line. They should bow when they do. Everyone knows what they need to do next. They need to become explorers first by joining the Explorers Guild. They can sell what they've saved after that. They'll need to find a place to stay the next night. They will tell other people about Oda's group the next day. His boss, Shimazaki, hears this and asks why Oda's group is at the bottom of the list of things to do. The rep says she didn't mean to do that because she feels stuck. If Shimazaki says she doesn't worry about the nerds, Hera makes fun of her. But Shimazaki doesn't say anything because she feels bad telling the truth. They get to the Adventurers Club in the end, no matter what. Hadoka feels scared just by seeing the building from the street. People in the guild who don't like newbies stare at them when someone tells Haruka that the guild master wants to see him. Things are getting worse. Before Haruka can do anything else, she quickly asks the R to handle the signed-up people. He feels good when everyone is looking at him. Haruka walks toward Gadidc, who is the guild's master in a scary way. When God asks if the boy in front of him is Haruka, she says yes. The master is grateful that he saved Offer's group, which caught him off guard. Haruka felt better after reading this because she thought something much worse was going to happen. Now that he is less worried, he walks around the club and finds a place to sell his magic stones. As she comes up to the desk, a woman tells him that she will quickly look at the important things. Another worker tells him that he can't figure out all of the stones at once and that he'll have to wait until tomorrow. After that, the girls tell Haruka that everyone agreed to go on a trip. These two people say they didn't think the girls would be this good. They didn't think they could get past level 30. After that, Shimazaki tells Haruka to join too. He's finally glad to be a part of a real group in this new world. It was said by the class rep that Haruka would make a great traveler because she helped her friends get to the city safely. Haruka starts to sign up, but he quickly figures it out. He is only level 9 when he should be level 10. The worker won't give in even though he cries, begs, and falls to his knees. He can't go any further by himself until he hits level 30 as an apprentice, they tell him. He also needs to be with a group. He is going to, last, be known as a real traveler who is upset about this. From Haruka's level, that's clear. That's still a long way off level 20, and he can't watch the scene with anyone else because he likes being by himself. The rep sees how scared her friend is and makes plans for the whole group to spend the night. She takes the team to the hotel that the guild proposed in the evening. Hera doesn't like how strange it looks when they get there, though. They meet a young woman at the front desk who says the group told her that the hearts on each door would help new people get around. When Hera asks if this is some kind of roadside love hotel, the worker tells him to be careful. He knows the rooms are fine and the bed is soft, but he still misses the trees. Shimazaki also doesn't know where Oda and the other boys are on day 1919 morning. The person from the company says that the city is safe and has many stores while everyone eats breakfast. He sees how happy the girls are and thinks they will do well here. But he plans to go back to the bush once he sells. When he gets back to the group, he sees the deal they made for his stones. Someone throws a bag of cash on the bar and tells him that's all they can do for now. The field master then shows up to remind them that they still need to count all the stones. Hera tells her to calm down. She knows they can't pay for all of them at once, though. They will pay Haruka over time if she agrees. The master leaves, 8 million shoes as the first payment. This money is almost as valuable as Japanese yen, if Haruka is right. He now has a little more than $52,000. After that, the guild worker talks about how the world's market works. Haruka really did have 8 million heals worth of F-rank magic stones, plus the extra ones he got from the task they did together as a green wolf to save the offer group. It's time to buy things we need, according to the teacher. God EC joins in and tells them a great place to spend all that money. Hatuka knows that the kind of place he wants to go will be full of women. He thinks about that while he's at GDC, which is a mistake because he thinks it might be too early for that kind of event. Soon after they get to the spot, SEC told me about a store that sells dungeon-found goods. The shop owner seems a little strange at first, but he quickly shows that he is a good person. He falls in love with the fire staff, the power gloves, the stealth cape, and the Mona cutting sword, among other things. You are told about a necklace called 7 Shops that has the perks of 7 different things in one. Someone from Haruka's class tells him to go back to the hotel right away because it's time to sleep. There is still one more thing the lone wolf wants to try. It is the mistletoe twig, which makes magical rods and staffs stronger. He grabs it though and accidentally turns it on. The gear then joins together and he didn't even have to pay for the magical collar. He tells the store owner that the item is worth more than 10 million heals, which makes him angry. Godak and the classmate try to get the seller to change the price of the item. On the 20th, Haruka couldn't buy much because he was still broke from the accident. It was a good deal when the shop owner lowered the price to 8 million yen, but the kid needs to buy more magic stones to sell and doesn't have any money left. Odd people from outside the city can't leave until they become travelers and get a pass. If he tries to sneak out, the class rep will not let him go with the girls. Haruka knows that living in the city is not for him. He needs to get back to nature. That's better. The cape that makes him invisible is now attached to his farmer outfit. That's when a Y will be useful. He makes it to the city wall without any of the girls in his class noticing. He is about to jump over and run away when someone calls out to him. He hits the wall when they throw him off. One of the girls in his group is almost seen taking off her clothes in public to try them on. They don't care about that right now. Haruka quickly stops her from making a fuss. His first escape plan didn't work out on the 21st. The girls get ready for the first thing they need to do. Haruka tried to run away the day before, after they had already left, so the class rep won't let him join them. The lone wolf can sneak past the guard at the gate and get to the outside because of his cape. Very happy. As he runs back to the forest, nothing is stopping him. Not even a group of thieves fighting a carriage with a girl inside who can't defend herself. Now, it's Haruka's job to fight the thieves because they don't want anyone to see. Uses his gun to take care of things. He kills all the Krux when he gets back to the bush, and sees that his wooden staff has changed into he used the mistletoe branch or maybe the fire staff in that shop to make the cane much stronger. Soon after the thieves merged, he did too. They take another look at their foe and see that it's just a level 9 boy. After that, they get ready to use guns in ways that only people level 20 and up can. The first one strikes out, the second one hits a double, and the third one hits a home run. Haruka can see that these are strong skills, but the bad guys don't know how to use them right, so they get worn out and lose by themselves. And the lone wolf can now see that these enemies were weak, even though they were good with weapons. They were too good for their own good. The girl from the carriage thanks the stranger after being saved. She says her name is Muriel, and that she is a noblewoman whose personality no one, not even Haruka, can understand. She doesn't feel safe being alone, so he asks her to stay with him for the rest of her trip. She tells him that her father is a lord in the area. He is happy to thank her for his help after the attack, even though she wants to go back to the bush. He agreed to stay with her and help her get into the carriage. Muriel is interested in Haruka's home country. After that, he says he came from a bad place where the guild wouldn't even let people leave when they were ready. The boy is sure of this and other things. The lord of that city is just as bad as the city itself. What does this make Muriel cry? She is the daughter of the lord of the city. She was just called names by Huka. This train is also going back to Amui. There is a nobleman who tells Hara she needs to thank him for saving her. And Hara gets scared and tries to run away. In the trees, tough guys and weak kids are fighting, and one of the bad guys cuts the boss of the tough guys. Kindly tell me what you think and click subscribe if you like it. Soon, I'll send you more movies because they help me get better. Our episode begins with the villain attacking a group of friends, killing 2 of them. When the others try to fight him with their swords, he uses his magic to lift his sword off the ground and kills them as well. As the remaining friends attempt to escape, the villain flies and lands in front of them, blocking their way. He approaches, and when they see his face, they are utterly shocked. The scene then shifts to the carriage, where Haruka tells the driver to stop, saying he doesn't want to go to Omoi but wants to return to the forest. Muriel tells him to calm down and stop making noise. They arrive at the mansion, and Haruka is astonished by its beauty. As they enter, he becomes very nervous, then approaches a painting of the king of Omoi and his wife, commenting on how they look happy and in love. But he says he wants to leave. Haruka tries to head toward the door, and Muriel appears asking where he's going. She reminds him she told him not to go anywhere until she changes her clothes. Haruka explains that he was just planning to wait for her outside, not to run away. Muriel tells him she wants him to be in a good and livable place. We then see Muriel and Haruka sitting in front of a table full of delicious food, and Haruka is shocked. Muriel explains that she invited him here to thank him for saving her from the hands of the villains. Haruka starts eating the food enthusiastically and comments on how delicious it is. Muriel then orders the maid to bring Haruka his gift. The maid places the gift beside him, and Haruka finds it is a bag of money. Muriel tells him to take it to his world, and also gives him an ID card with his name and the name of her town, Omoi, so he can enter the town whenever he wishes. She warns him not to use the card for anything that might endanger him, only to visit them and remember her town. However, Haruka is so focused on eating sweets that he doesn't pay attention to her words, which disappoints Muriel. The next morning, we see Haruka with the girls, saying he was invited to the Lord's mansion yesterday. One of the girls responds that she knows, but that they want to know why he was invited and what he did there. Haruka refuses to tell them. Some girls then decide to go outside, and the class president tells him he's not allowed to leave the city. After everyone leaves the room, Haruka bids them farewell and gets excited to be alone. He puts on his cloak, deciding to leave the city since nothing is stopping him now, as he has the ID card to enter and exit easily. He leaves the house, goes out quickly, but then decides to buy some things with the money Muriel gave him yesterday. He buys a lot of mushrooms, eats them, and leaves a note for his classmates, then heads to the city borders, shows his ID to the guard, and is allowed to leave. Haruka is thrilled to be returning to the forest. When along the way, he uses invisibility magic to avoid the monsters. While walking, a huge monster suddenly appears behind him, but Haruka manages to defeat it in one blow. He wonders why there's a monster here, as they usually don't appear in the forest depths. After checking his stats, he moves on. As sunset approaches, Haruka is still walking through the forest, feeling something has changed in his absence. He then notices a blood stain on the ground, wondering if this was done by his friends from the cave, although it's out of character for them, or if it was caused by the athletes or criminals in the forest. He sees Fi's footprints on the ground and decides to follow them. Suddenly, he discovers his friends lying dead on the ground and is utterly shocked, but he notices that one of them is still breathing. Haruka quickly pulls out a healing potion and pours it on them, attempting to save them. One of the friends opens his eyes, thanks Haruka, and asks if the girls are safe. Haruka tells him they are safe in the city. His friend asks what they should do to help their classmates, and Haruka inquires if the genius friends are safe. His friend replies that he doesn't know anything because the villain attacked them very suddenly and quickly. They were unable to resist him as he was extremely powerful, stealing all their weapons, and he must have had a plan for everything, as he's a genius who knows his next target. Haruka asks what that target is, and his friend reveals that the villain's target is the class president because she possesses the kidnap skill. Haruka is very surprised, as only he and the genius friends knew that the class president had this skill. He asks how they figured it out, and his friend explains that the villain kept asking about the class president, and when he was fighting them, he didn't finish them off completely, hoping to find her. He assumed they would ask her for help, which would allow him to capture her. So they came to find Haruka, as they believe that if they fight together, they can defeat this villain. Haruka thinks to himself, I don't want to get involved in this battle, I just want to live in peace, but he decides to fight and tells his friends he'll face the villain alone. They are shocked and insist he can't handle it on his own, asking him about his plan. Haruka suggests they return to the city and apologize to the class president for treating her poorly. They resist at first, but eventually agree and leave. As they go, Haruka thinks it's better this way even if he falls. There will be someone left to protect the girls. The scene shifts to the city, where the girls are looking for Haruka. One friend reassures the others not to worry, saying he'll be okay. Back in the forest, Haruka reflects on what his friends told him about the enemy's sword, realizing he needs a powerful skill to counter it. He notices monsters drawn by the scent of blood and realizes they're unusually strong for this part of the forest. He battles and defeats them, only for an enormous beast to appear, attacking Haruka with multiple strikes. Recognizing its strength, Haruka wields his magic staff, eventually overcoming the beast. He gazes at his weapon, remarking that it's exactly what he's always wished for. Suddenly, a fox-like monster at level 50 appears, shocking Haruka, who is only at level 9. Haruka gathers as much magic as he can in his staff and strikes the beast, but it wakes up and charges at him, injuring his face with multiple blows. Haruka retaliates with a powerful magic attack, reducing the monster's strength, but it powers up and delivers a forceful strike, leaving Haruka exhausted. Still, he doesn't give up, launching a final assault and ultimately defeating it, raising his level to 11. Checking his stats, Haruka notices he's gained new skills, but realizes he's still not ready to face the villain. Determined not to give up, he decides to fight on. Just then, the villain appears, walking through the forest. When Haruka sees him without his hood, he realizes it's his old friend, Tanaka. The scene shifts back to the city, where the girls walk together. They suddenly spot their athletic friends, and the class president asks about Haruka. One friend explains that Haruka isn't there, he's fighting alone in the forest. Back with Haruka, he says, "It's been a long time, Tanaka." "Welcome to my little corner," Tanaka replies that he expected the athletes to lead him to the girls and the class president. Not here. Frustrated, he adds, "How embarrassing to be outsmarted by those fools." Haruka asks, "So you planned all of this from the start?" Tanaka smiles, admitting he used them to create a rift among the classmates. Haruka asks if Tanaka killed the others or if something else happened to them. Tanaka brushes him off, saying he doesn't have time to waste and is off to find the class president. Haruka grows angry, aiming his magic staff at him. Mockingly, Tanaka sneers, "So you want to die, Haruka?" And that's where our episode ends. For more episodes, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated.